Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel, and I just got home from Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 and thought I'd give you my opinions. So what these videos have been so far in the series where I watch a movie at the movie theater and then review it is I've basically spent the first 5 to 7 minutes not spoiling the movie and just talking about what I liked about it, not spoiling it, and then I've literally verbalized the rest of the movie. And I am making the executive decision as the manager of this YouTube channel to no longer do that and do a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review focusing on Easter eggs and anything that I want to point out about the film. And if I talk about something that happened in the film, a scene or whatever, then yeah. So starting out with the non-spoiler stuff, I have to say right off the bat, you know how some people are saying Marvel doesn't really feel like Marvel lately? Well, this movie feels like Marvel. This movie, like what we used to expect from Marvel movies before, you know, Thor, Love and Thunder, and She-Hulk, was the perfect combination between action, comedy, and just tear-jerking emotion. And this movie definitely delivered in all three of those categories. There were so many scenes in this movie that made me laugh, or made me almost cry, because you know guys, I don't cry in movies. I am a Sigma Alpha male, okay? I'm a Giga Chad. I don't cry in movies.
Sin City wasn't maybe I just hated things the way they are.
And unlike Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which I made a video on and then never posted, so I'll just kind of recap my opinions on the last Marvel movie, it definitely was a very good Marvel movie, but I don't feel like it did justice to Ant-Man as the end of Ant-Man's trilogy. Captain America Civil War changed Captain America's experience and life forever because of what happened in the ending of his trilogy, because he became a fugitive instead of the Boy Scout that we all know and love. Thor Ragnarok made Thor the King of Asgard, which is literally something that he has been trying to accomplish since the very first Thor movie, and he realized that it's a lot bigger of a job than he used to think. Iron Man 3 left Iron Man completely un-Iron Manned. He didn't need the arc reactor to survive anymore, which basically meant that he could just be Tony Stark again. And Spider-Man No Way Home literally ripped Peter Parker from his life, and he was no longer Peter Parker. His aunt died, his best friend doesn't remember him, his girlfriend doesn't remember him, his original mentor is dead, and his new mentor doesn't remember him. He has to start a life completely outside of everything that he's lived in for his entire life. But Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania felt more like the beginning of Kang's story than the closing chapter of Ant-Man's story, which is a critique that I had for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 100% delivered with the end of trilogy feel, where it closes a chapter in the character's story and opens a new one, whether that's them retiring, them going on a personal journey, or them just getting some kind of new power or new revelation that they didn't have previously. I loved the way that they handled Rocket Raccoon's character. I think we all know that this movie is very centered around Rocket Raccoon simply from the trailers. I have to say, without spoiling anything, this movie definitely cemented my opinion that Rocket Raccoon is the best Guardians of the Galaxy member. Drax was funny as always. Mantis really came out of her shell, because if you watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, you will know that Mantis is getting more and more animated and more of her own character, instead of just in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Infinity War being kind of this dumb, naive baby person. She's actually a very important member of this movie. Star-Lord is Star-Lord as always, which was really nice to see Star-Lord again, not having to compete with Thor for masculinity. Nebula, funny and action-packed and sassy. Cracklin, still probably my second or third favorite member of Guardians of the Galaxy. And Gamora. I'm honestly very surprised with how they handled her character. They did a very good job. And Groot, well, the only way to really explain Groot is,
I'm Groot.
The introduction of Adam Warlock's character, I honestly feel, was done very well, and Will Poulter, or however you say his name, honestly portrayed Adam Warlock a lot better than I was expecting. I was worried that they were going to mess up Adam Warlock's character, or make him less powerful than he actually is in the comics and animated series that he has appeared in over the years. But Adam Warlock fans, don't be worried. Adam Warlock is awesome. And Cracklin, great character. I already talked about Cracklin. What the frick? I will say, the actor that plays High Evolutionary, I don't even want to try to say his name. I'll put it right up there. But he did an absolutely fantastic job and was an MCU villain. I feel like the movies lately haven't really delivered on that MCU villain feel besides Namor. Because Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, while Elizabeth Olsen did an absolutely amazing job as the antagonist for the movie, it didn't really give off that Marvel villain vibe because we already had an emotional connection to Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch from the earlier movies. Gore did not have enough screen time, and they absolutely did that man injustice. There were 25 minutes of gore that Taika Waititi just decided not to include for some reason. The Eternals movie, the villain in that was the green guy, don't remember his name, and then it was Icarus, and then it was Sprite, and then it was Icarus again. It was very confusing, and they never really nailed that villain role. She-Hulk, Titania, Abomination, Weird Hulk King, I don't even know with that one. So really the only good MCU villains that have appeared before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 were Moon Knight's villain was really cool, Namor, amazing villain, all of the Spider-Man No Way Home dudes, perfect, Wenwu, super dope. Other than that, because Far From Home ended Phase 3, so other than that I'd have to say most of Phase 4 villains were a little lackluster, and Werewolf by Night, great show, great special. Villains were awesome. But yeah, they really nailed High Evolutionary. It was dope, bro. Insane how the actor just completely, he was great. He was great. I loved all of the little Easter eggs and the inclusion of new characters and the inclusion of some old characters. This is a movie that you absolutely need to go see in theaters. If I were to rate this movie, I would have to rate it like a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10 as far as Marvel movies go. It is definitely one of the better Marvel movies that have come out in the last 2.5, 3 years. Bro, the movie was great. It was great. Go watch the movie. What are you doing watching my video about the movie? Just go watch the movie. And before I get into spoiler territory really quick, thank you, James Gunn. Thank you. I know you're not gonna watch this video. I know you don't know I exist. But thank you, James Gunn, for creating Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3. Thank you, sir. I think part of the reason that the MCU movies have been a little lackluster lately is because they have been experimenting with new directors. But bro, Ryan Coogler with Wakanda Forever, James Gunn with Vol. 3, they're the OG directors and they're still the best. James Gunn did such a good job. Now getting into spoiler territory, so I want to say right off the bat, Cosmo. I didn't want to talk about Cosmo in the non-spoiler section because I didn't know if she was technically a spoiler, per se. In the comics, Cosmo was a boy. But in the movie, Cosmo was a girl, which honestly, I had zero problem with. It's very different changing a male human character to a female human character, but a dog, it's like, whatever. I mean, it's a dog. And I'm not against swapping of genders. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's different, because sometimes it's cool and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, why would you do that to the character? But it was cool in this case. If you guys don't know, Cosmo is a Russian astronaut dog that gets sent to space and then gets trapped on there and then gets telekinesis abilities and then lives on Nowhere, the planet that's been in the movies since the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And Cosmo made an appearance in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, running across the screen, and I think also like licking the face of the Collector in an end credit scene. But other than that, Cosmo hadn't really been in stuff until this movie, which I really liked. And I will say, James Gunn is a flipping genius because, and I feel like this was a conversation that was had. If you guys don't know, there was a rumor going around that either Rocket or Drax was going to die in this movie due to the color of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 movie logo. Because in the first one, it's brown and green, and Groot dies. In the second one, it's blue and red, which is Yondu, and both of those characters died in those movies. I'm gonna say who dies now, so go to this timestamp if you don't want to know who dies, because I'm gonna talk about who dies for probably about a minute. So, I'll give you like 5 seconds to skip.
Skip or get spoiled.
Nobody dies in this movie. None of the members die. Rocket Raccoon flatlines, so he technically dies and then comes back to life. Star-Lord dies and then comes back to life. Nebula does the thing where she fake dies and then she comes back to life. Drax almost dies and then gets healed and comes back to life. So basically, they killed off every character, but not really, is what they did. They had it, I feel like James Gunn planned it. I feel like James Gunn was like, okay, I've been doing this thing and the people have caught up to it. Let's make it gray and yellow, which are basically the colors of every single character in the entire movie. So they think Rocket dies, or they think Drax dies, or they think Star-Lord dies, or they think Nebula dies, or they think Gamora dies, or they think Groot dies again, or whatever. Groot dies too. Adam Warlock almost kills Groot. He like rips all of his limbs off except for his head, which is how he's still alive. Adam Warlock, since I'm on the topic of Adam Warlock. But Adam Warlock, really fun character. The way they did Adam Warlock is very similar to the way they did Vision, where Vision mentally, technically, well not, okay. So Vision, they make the joke that he's only 2 days old, which, you know, technically makes Wanda kind of a pedophile, but I mean, we don't really talk about that because Jarvis is like 30, 20-ish, 30, around the same age as Wanda, so it kind of, it's fine. And it's an AI, so it doesn't even matter, technically. But with Adam Warlock, they made him mentally around 6 years old because he got unplugged from the machine that was making him, you know, the perfect specimen early. So he's mentally 6 or 7. I think they said he's an infant. And I did the math, and Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2 versus 2025 or 2026 when Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 3 happens. So it makes him about 8 or 9 years old mentally, which was funny. And I feel like isn't a super big deal because Adam Warlock's next appearance is probably going to be in Avengers Secret Wars, maybe the Captain Marvel movie, so it's not a big deal that he's mentally 9 because by the time Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty come out, he's gonna be 15, 16, 17 mentally. But like physically, he's in his 20s. So me and my brother made a joke where we're shipping Kamala Khan and Adam Warlock now because they're basically the exact same character, just one's a Guardians of the Galaxy, one is a Guardian of the Galaxy and one is Kamala Khan. So I just think it's kind of funny if we if everyone in the world or everyone that watches this video or whatever collectively ships Kamala Khan and Adam Warlock. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's just a joke that I wanted to share that me and my brother are secretly shipping Adam Warlock and Kamala Khan as boyfriend and girlfriend because that'd be really funny. Bradley Cooper did an amazing job as Rocket Raccoon, and I have never seen a CGI raccoon act so well in my entire life. This movie is basically Rocket Raccoon's movie. The first Guardians of the Galaxy movie is all of the Guardians' story, but especially I feel Star-Lord, because it's really Star-Lord's journey. But then the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie is also kind of Star-Lord's journey, and it also focuses on Rocket a lot. But I almost feel like that movie is kind of dedicated to Gamora and Nebula's stories, and Gamora is so connected to Star-Lord that it seemed like Star-Lord's story. But the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 definitely seemed themed around all the characters a lot more than the first one did. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is basically Rocket Raccoon's solo film until like the last 35 minutes of the movie. The entire movie is just about Rocket Raccoon. And sure, he has basically the least amount of screen time, like actually, because most of his screen time in the movie is from flashbacks of when the High Evolutionary was messing with him, like cybernetically and stuff, but he just did such a good job that it made me so sad. I will say though, Star-Lord and Gamora, it seems like they might get back together because Star-Lord and Gamora might get back together. Because at the end of the movie, when Gamora says goodbye to Star-Lord, there are sparks flying. And Gamora does the face that girls do when they have a crush on you, where they like look down and they like smile, they're like hee hee. And then Star-Lord was just over there like super riz. He rizzed everyone in this movie. He rizzed up Nebula from the trailer scene where he was like, wow, I never realized how black your eyes are. She's like, it was a method of torture from my father. And he's like, I never noticed that he picked such a pretty set. He rizzes up this random pink lady. He's like, hey girl, I saw you. You're attractive. Because they're at this base where they need information to save Rocket, because Adam Warlock's introduction scene is actually going to nowhere and basically one-tapping literally everyone there, and he lasers Rocket to the point where Rocket's dead basically the entire movie until they end up healing him, but then he gets hurt again, and it's this whole thing. Because Adam Warlock's introduction scene, he basically goes to nowhere and just one-taps everyone. Drax and Adam Warlock have this really awesome fight, and my brother's a really big fan of Drax. So my brother, I'll link his channel right up there, but he really liked Drax in this movie because Drax in the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies basically one-tapped everybody and he was super OP. But in the second movie, a little less than, because they made him a bit of a joke in that movie. And then in Infinity War and Endgame, they kind of made him even more of a joke because he was fighting Thanos and he was fighting Overriders. I feel like it's something Rider. Outriders. Yeah, Outriders. He was fighting Outriders, and Outriders are so OP. So it made him seem a lot weaker, but in this movie, he was definitely Drax the Destroyer-y. But Drax and Adam Warlock have this really awesome battle, and then Adam Warlock one-shots Nebula, and he one-shots Drax after they have the epic battle. And then Cracklin tries to save the day with his arrow and fails, and it's really funny because he hides behind this thing because he is still mastering the Yauka arrow or whatever it's called. And then Adam Warlock really seriously injures Rocket Raccoon. And then that's why most of Rocket Raccoon's screen time is from flashbacks, because he's put into a coma, and then his story is told through flashbacks, which is why I said this movie is basically Rocket Raccoon's solo movie. They brought back Sylvester Stallone. That's something cool that happened, is they brought back Sylvester Stallone because he was one of the main members and was a leader of a specific region of the Ravagers, and that's also how Gamora comes into the movie, is she joins the Ravagers and kind of becomes the new Yondu in a way. So Sylvester Stallone back in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, it was fine. I'm not a big fan of Sylvester Stallone. I think he's a little overrated, but it's whatever. And then Howard the Duck, like in all the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies, made an appearance, and I honestly feel like Howard the Duck is going to have something in the next couple years, because they're not just reusing Howard the Duck over and over and over and not gonna do something with him. So he's either gonna be in a Deadpool movie, or he's gonna have his own Disney Plus show, or something like that, because Howard the Duck is way too cameoed at this point to not have a good solidified spot in the MCU. And Howard the Duck is actually in Avengers Endgame, fighting in Avengers Endgame right here. So I learned that a while back, and I just thought I'd share because I had the opportunity. And then I'm trying to think of what else I want to talk about. The movie is great, guys. It's a great movie. Go watch the movie. Michael Rooker makes a cameo. He actually, when there's this big, like, use the Force, Luke, moment with Cracklin in the final battle against the High Evolutionary and all of his, he had, I'll put the name of it right up here because I can't remember it right now, but the High Evolutionary used those guys in this movie, which my brother recognized that reference from the Guardians of the Galaxy animated show. But there's this moment where Cracklin has to defeat a bunch of them, and then Yondu, Obi-Wan Kenobi force ghosts in, and then telepathically tells Cracklin something that only Star-Lord heard in Vol 2, the use your heart, boy.
I don't use my head to fly the arrow, boy. I use my heart.
Line from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Cracklin heard it somehow. I don't know. I can't explain it. So then Cracklin uses the Force, Luke. And he successfully uses the Yauka arrow. It's not Yauka. That's Yaucha, which is the predator race. My brother has filled my head with the wrong nerd information. It's Yaka arrow. I was saying Yauka. It's Yaka. I was so close, bro. Yauka arrow is what is like if a predator used the Yaka arrow that Yondu uses, which honestly would be really dope. And then Phyla-Vell. Phyla-Vell was in this movie. That person. Only Marvel nerds will know who Phyla-Vell is. I know Phyla-Vell because of a game I play called Marvel Future Fight, which I'm honestly planning on making some content on my gaming channel. Linked right up there. Did you see that plug? Phyla-Vell is basically this Kree lady that is the daughter of Mar-Vell, the person that Captain Marvel is named after, and she basically has the basic stuff. She's got the super strength, the stamina, the durability, the speed, the reflexes, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm a superhero. But she also has Kree negabands, very similar to Kamala Khan's bands that she uses because they changed her to a mutant instead of an inhuman, which I'm still mad about. But they're very similar to that, so she has very similar powers. In the comics, she has this really dope yellow sword that has like super awesome energy manipulation abilities. But I feel like with the nega bands that she has, they actually make it possible for her to fly faster than the speed of light, which is dope. But I feel like something that they will do with them is because Kamala Khan is able to make energy projections of her fists, and that's how they do the stretching powers, I feel like they're going to make energy projection of her sword, and that's how she's gonna have her super dope sword that shoots energy. But Phyla-Vell was in a post-credit scene, super dope. And Phyla-Vell's a child because they rescue a bunch of kids from the High Evolutionary, because the High Evolutionary is, you know, trying to make the perfect species, blah, 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 blah. Because, you know, he's not a bad guy. He's just trying to help the world by also being blasphemous and saying he's a god and, you know, having a god complex like a crazy person. But so he's, you know, he created all these people. So Phyla-Vell is either one of these people or one of the random kids that he captures. I don't know. They haven't told us. MCU, James Gunn, blah, 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 hasn't told us Phyla-Vell's MCU backstory. I just know who she is in the comics, and who she is in the comics is a Kree, daughter of Mar-Vell, and has basically all of the superhero powers except for laser eyes. And, like, reading minds and stuff. So, all the cool stuff. She's basically Superman plus, like, a sword. So she's basically just rip-off Superman, but a girl and with the swords. So, oh, she's Wonder Woman. Wow, that's hilarious, guys. She's Wonder Woman, but a blue alien instead of a demigod. All superheroes are the same, guys. It's so hard to be a superhero fan when not all of them are the same. Aisha, creepy, this zero segue, but Aisha, the gold lady, this lady, she's in this movie too. She's, you know, the mom of Adam Warlock. She dies, sadly. But she's in this movie too, which is cool. So when the movie ends, Star-Lord goes to Earth and sees his grandfather, which is the guy in the first movie that pulls him away from his mom as his mom dies from cancer, which I always thought was like his stepdad. I figured when Ego left, his wife married a new guy, which is who the grandpa was. So when they were talking about the grandpa, I was like, what? It was his grandpa the whole time? I thought it was his stepdad. So that was kind of weird. It was just a brain thing though, it wasn't like an actual thing. But he goes back to Earth in the end credit scene and the end of the movie to see his grandfather, and then Mantis goes to discover herself, because her thing is she did whatever Ego told her to do, and then she did whatever the Guardians told her to do, so she needs to go find herself. So remember these guys from the second movie, the opening scene that eat the batteries, and Annulax batteries, Harbulary batteries? No, that's nothing like what I just said. You know, the trending audio. Those are in the High Evolutionary's spaceship, like the Rancor in Star Wars, where Jabba throws people down into the pits of despair, and then they're supposed to not be eaten. That's basically what those guys are. They are High Evolutionary's Rancor, basically. Mantis is like, they don't eat humans, they eat batteries. So how about we're friends? So now she has 3 of those guys as pets. And also Adam Warlock has this cute guy as a pet. And Adam Warlock fake dies like 6 times too. What is it with everybody dying? And then what else is there that I want to spoil? Vin Diesel says, I love you guys. Groot, you know how he just goes, I am Groot. And then occasionally he'll go, we are Groot. Well, in this movie, he literally says, I love you guys, but nobody reacts to it because they understand his language. So, because, you know, when he says, I am Groot, they hear what Groot is saying. But then he said, I love you guys, and they didn't react because they just figured he said, I am Groot. So, I'm confused because either Groot's learned English, which is totally possible, but it kind of takes away from Groot's Grootiness, which kind of makes me sad if they're gonna make Groot speak English now, because literally his defining feature is the fact that he only says, I am Groot. So either they're messing with his vocabulary by enhancing it, or they made him say, I love you guys, because we've been watching the movies for 11 years. The viewers speak Groot, because we've been hearing Groot speak since 2013. So one of those. So either Groot speaks English or we speak Groot. Either way, Vin Diesel actually got to say words in this movie. And then besides everything that I have spoiled, other Easter eggs. There was this cool end screen, Star-Lord will return. It said the legendary Star-Lord will return. And there was also, in the credits, in the special thanks section of every movie where they thank the people that helped the movie be possible, they put all the fans, which made me happy. I feel like I'm forgetting something super integral. I think I got it all. I think I got all of the Easter eggs and spoiled all the stuff. Because I don't want to tell you guys the whole movie, because I want you guys to go watch the movie. Come on, guys. Rocket Raccoon's friends, Teefs, Floor, and Lila, were super sad and made me almost cry multiple times. Star-Lord, like, frickin' Chris Pratt's acting, great as always. Zoe Saldana, I hated her. Oh, I want to tell you guys that. Gamora, I hated Gamora in the beginning of the movie. Hated her. She sucked. She was such a crapwad. But then by the end of the movie, she was almost regular Gamora again. But she was such a turd. Holy cow, guys. She was so mean. She tried killing Star-Lord because he was being Star-Lord, which I understand, but oh, I did not like her at all. I was nervous about that, guys. I was nervous that they were ruining Gamora's character. They fixed it, though. They fixed it. And Drax, you know how they always bother Drax for being such an idiot? In this movie, they still did that, and then Mantis called Drax an idiot out loud, and Drax became sad, and then Mantis had to wipe that from Drax's memory because Drax was just really sad, and it made me sad. And then Mantis was like, "You aren't an idiot, you were meant to be a father." And then Drax dances, guys. Drax dances. You know how his whole shtick is, idiots dance, weaklings dance, I'm a man, I'm a Giga Chad. Well, Drax dances in this movie, and it's sweet, and it's cute, and he does the Drax yell. Basically, this movie, literally my heart, you know when you're so nervous about something for no reason, and you know it's for no reason, and your chest is like really tight, and your heart is going really fast? My body was doing that. I watched this movie at 3, and my body had been doing that since like 2:30 p.m. I watched this at 3 p.m. And the entire movie until the movie ended, my chest was doing that. This movie was an emotional roller coaster. It started out super depressing, then became funny, then depressed me, then became funny, then depressed me, then I thought someone died, and then they died, and then people died, and then other people died, and then they came back to life, and then they died again, and then I cried, and then I didn't cry, and then I laughed, and then I cried, and then I was happy, and then I was like, whoa, that's awesome, that's dope, holy cow, that's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then the movie ended with a happy note, which was amazing. Also, there's this weird page. I'm gonna actually pop my screen out. There's this page that said, "Who is the kid in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?" And it says, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 cast includes Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Zendaya as MJ, and Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, which is literally the most stupid thing I've ever heard. So I found that and wanted to tell you. Again, I rate this movie a 9.5/10 out of 10. Go watch the movie, please. I don't care how you see it. Go watch it. Sneak into the theater, guys. Don't actually, that's stealing. But just go watch the movie. Look. I don't know. But go, seriously, guys, go watch this movie. It's the best Marvel movie in like freaking 2 years. When did No Way Home come out? 2021, and it's 2023. So two years. Go watch the movie. What are you doing watching my video? Go watch the movie right now. I don't care. Go watch. Freaking Bob. Yo, if you're a Bob, make sure to subscribe, my dudes.